Against all the evil that Crash Triggers can conjure, all the drama that Sonic Wave Infinity can produce, we will send unto them only you. Click and hold until it is done.
So recently, we've gotten some amazing additions to the Doom universe. You got Doom 2016, Doom Eternal, and the uncanonical but still sexy as hell Boomslayer. But if we're gonna talk about these things in terms of sheer enjoyment, Boomslayer kinda shits the bed compared to these godsends. But at least I can safely say it's better than Doom fucking VR. Talk about a plunge into hell itself. Alright, maybe it's a little unfair to compare these rip and tear masterpieces to One Click Andy over here, so I'll do my best to give this gameplay a fair assessment. And to be honest, it's pretty meh. The opening to the level is really lackluster. To be fair, it's the slowest part of the song, so obviously there's not going to be any balls to the wall high octane 4x speed shit yet, but it's still by far the most boring part of the level. The only game mode used in this section is Cube, and for the most part the gameplay is about as creative as the opening to base after base. Things pick up a little bit near the end when a few orbs come into play, but it didn't really make it any less of a slog to play from zero. There were also a few questionable hitboxes scattered throughout the first half of the part, but that's a common issue with art levels when you have set pieces like these cars that don't perfectly match up with default blocks. As I do most of the time now with gameplay reviews, I'm gonna combine multiple parts so we're not here for the next 4 hours. I know some of you masochists are just frothing at the mouth for a Yakob video even half of that length, but my supple ass just cannot handle a fucking that massive. So you're gonna have to settle with me lumping these next 2 parts together. It's not that hard to do since they're literally just jump orb, jump orb, jump orb. Oh look, a ship. Jump orb, you get the point. I mean, if just one more orb had made it into the part, we wouldn't have even had to switch to UFO at the end. This kind of gameplay is super repetitive and doesn't even sync well in this case. Just like the first part, it feels like all the budget went into the insane visuals instead of focusing on making an enjoyable demon. Thankfully, that chainsaw starts revving and things get a lot more intense for the next few parts. The song starts switching between 2 different noise levels, with the first being intense and the second being really fucking intense. Tony and Subwoofer cover the intense parts, while Grax and Knots get the buttfuck crazy ones. Not only is switching between these 2 modes a lot more interesting than anything that's come so far, but the word sync is finally taken into consideration, and it makes a huge difference. Tony and Subwoofer's bits both play perfectly and are my favorite in the level from a gameplay perspective. The really fucking intense parts are also great, but when playing them you have to click every orb as early as physically possible, which can be pretty jarring since no other parts do this. 1 second you're casually flying through Satan's rectum, and the next you're going for the fastest click speed world record. It can get especially annoying in Knots' part with tons of T3 pillars and decoration covering all of the platforms, but the good old method of spam and pray seems to get the job done even if you do get a bit offbeat. The next 2 parts keep up the intensity and sync, but the timings start getting hella awkward. This is especially apparent in the back-to-back green orbs at the end of Jago's part and the really weird spike placements in Space Dust part. Speaking of Space Dust, his part is darker than the fucking Mariana Trench. I mean, the section is literally named Dark Chamber in a Morse part breakdown, so props to him for nailing the theme, because I can't see shit here and it's kind of annoying. I'm also not a huge fan of moving so slowly at the build-up section of a level, but that's getting into hella nitpicky territory. These parts are still quite fun, but they did have more noticeable flaws than the last few for me. This leads us into our encounter with Big Bertha, and I'm really not digging the first half of it. My main issue lies in how boss fights created in Geometry Dash all tend to feel exactly the same. 90% of the time they consist of either the ship or wave game mode, or both if they want to earn some quote-unquote originality points, and the whole time you're dodging sketchy as hell, poorly hitboxed attacks that can even be buggy nightmares if the creator isn't experienced enough. This portion in Boomslayer is thankfully bug-free, but in exchange half of it is just boring ass wave spam. Once you find the sweet spot you don't even have to move. Just let Big Bertha here do his thing and take his anger out on the poor soil beneath you since he's clearly more interested in that. The ship is a bit better since you actually have to move up and down a little bit, but these conveniently placed teleport portals do most of the work for you, so once again you don't really have anything to worry about. Thankfully, the second half of this battle is much more interesting, and is up there with the middle sections for being the most fun in the entire level, if only it weren't so damn short. Speaking of short, this motherfucker just went from 6'8" to 2'4". Stay strong, my short king. The loss of height is the best case scenario scenario for us as the player though, because now we have structures for actual gameplay instead of birthless Hulkbuster armor. Everything is here. The intensity, the sync, the fun. Like I said earlier, my only issue here is that the part ends faster than my loss of respect for Floyd after I watched him try to suckle on Logan Paul's nutsack for half an hour straight. It's pretty clear that not nearly as much love was put into Boomslayer's gameplay compared to its decoration, which for the most part is okay. This level is meant to be a visual spectacle, not a gameplay masterpiece. The gameplay's job here is simply to hold you in place for the 15 minutes it'll take you to learn and beat it, and I think most people would agree it does that job fine. That being said, it's far from the most fun level I've played in recent times. Many of the parts felt boring or awkward, and the ones I found to be the most fun might even be a bit too difficult compared to the others around them, so I think a 6 out of 10 for the gameplay is fair here. I'm sure some of you guys loved it way more than I did, but this just didn't check nearly enough boxes when talking about what I consider to be fun. Boomslayer opens with the host of the level himself, AmorAltra, who as you can see perfectly recreated how your middle school looked after Dream admitted to cheating last week. I mean, we're talking complete carnage, baby. Even the Killdozer couldn't compare to this shit. But for real, Amor makes some insane art both in and out of this game, and this is no exception. I could go on about the small details Amor gives constant attention to, the amazing atmosphere that was created, or how well this functions as an opening scene, but instead I would like to draw your attention to this car and ask you, how the fuck did this happen? So this car is obviously missing its tires, but what sad motherfuckers stacked all 4 of them neatly to one side? Did the demons finish killing and pillaging and then said, fuck it, we don't have anything else to do, guess we'll stack some fucking tires? And calling all you car nerds out there, I want to know what manufacturer makes the interior of their cars literal stairs. I'm very confused on so many of the design choices here, so let me move on to talking about the first of many amazing transitions in this level, which is the indoor section with the elevator. This part is a perfect contrast to the outdoor bit at the beginning, with no dip in quality whatsoever. The elevator itself works perfectly as a gameplay and decoration set piece, which always leaves me with a huge heart on. My only question is what would have happened if we went down into the depths below instead of up and out? Oh, okay, yep, seems about right.
Let's just get it out of the way. The only thing I really don't like about this part is the fucking Mormon Tabernacle Choir blocking the view of the level. My bare ass already rid the front lawn of the Latter-day Saints, and I'll be damned if I won't do it again. I get what Dav was trying to do here with the crosses in the foreground, but they just end up distracting from his block design. And on that note, the block design. I'm a huge fan of the creature-possessed towers highlighted with red glow. Each of the towers looks unique, despite using the same base design. The skewered skulls pay a great homage to Papa Eternal, and the pentagrams provide the interior decoration I need in my life. Other highlights are the Eyes of Cthulhu, following throughout the part, and the bent dick buildings thrusting up to the beat. And another thing, I'm real disappointed there is no Miley ass on any of the wrecking balls. Come on, Dav.
Blueski's section is called the Rumbling Towers according to the official level lore, which makes sense because about 2 whole towers collapse as you move throughout this part. For this rumbling to occur, I'm guessing there's either a conveniently timed earthquake or someone just took out a super gore nest, since I'm not sure what could cause this kind of movement. I like how blocky these buildings are. Make these bitches a bit more yellow and that shit's gonna start looking like Swiss cheese. I also like these little cheese puff fucks that look like they came straight out of The End Is Nigh. In comparison to the rest of the level, this part does feel a bit less polished, but it's not a terrible drop in quality since we're going from a 10 out of 10 to a 9. For the transition out of this, we get crushed Annie style and taken straight to Venezuela, sorry, hell itself. Too bad this one default saw blade that got left in the part for whatever reason couldn't come with us. You will be remembered, my child.
After the abrupt entry into Satan's anus, we're shown the Devil's Doormat, the first of the hell-themed parts. The block design through here mimics flesh and organs, really cementing the Lucifer's colon feel. The slow-moving gradient covering the background deco gives a nice contrast to the block design. It makes me feel right back at home in the corner of Nibble's room. The base movement of the background layers conveys the absolute depth of the meat canyon the Boomslayer has found himself in. I find myself split on the block design here, as the simplistic textures clash with the rest of the level, which tends to use more detailed designs. The strange tubes connecting the pillars add some much needed variation, but can only do so much to detail the block design. Kale and King Tony's part ranks on the lower end of the parts for me, simply because there's a definite shift between its design and the rest of the level.
Grax's part sends you right back to the Cretaceous, bringing pterodactyls and shit flying across the screen. Shout out to this dinosaur looking ass bitch. All the block design blends perfectly into this theme, using angles and demon faces on the nether quartz pillars. The chains detailing the pillars provide great contrast to the creature faces on the rock blocks. This background sends me right back to Ice Age 3, when Sid burns his ass to get with the dinosaur bitch. The massive chains and collapsing cave convey the power of Satan's Mesozoic MILFs stomping throughout the land. My only complaints with this part are when one of the pterodactyl pricks shoves his fat wagon in the screen, blocking the level. This only lasts a moment though, as the obese fuck sends his Walmart scooter into high gear and gets off the screen. The Grax waifu at the end is a nice touch, giving us a reason to fight on.
Next up is our favorite blue pupper, Sir Subwoofer, and Mans decided to go all out and make his part in RTX on Nether Fortress. As expected from Subwoofer, the attention to detail is absolutely nutty. We got the 2 for $5.99 skull kebabs, the average tier 3 Pokemon sub, hey wait a sec, what the dog doing? And the entrance to Skull Mountain. I also love the lava falls in the background, and for our block design we got some nice ass ionic columns. Remember when we were learning about this shit in school instead of learning how to do taxes? This section, along with the next one, has the most diverse color scheme out of the entire level, and as always, Sub nails them perfectly. This section has been hella short, but A, I think it's a perfect part, so I don't have anything to criticize it for, and B, it's like 4 seconds long. Like, how much can I write off that without treating it like a high school essay? Knott's part is equally short, but unlike last time, I actually do have a complaint, and it's a pretty bitchy one, but a complaint nonetheless. This shit is moving at Mach 10, and as a result, it's difficult to see all the effort Knott's put into this banger of a part. Like I mentioned previously, this has some of the best colors in the whole level, but the pinks and greens used here feel more out of place than the purple and oranges of Subwoofers. The block design and all the various background details look fucking fantastic, especially since I slowed the footage down so you actually have time to take them all in. Knott's also introduces the second waifu we've seen in this desolate hellscape, and while she's a bit on the flat side, it's still a step up from the mere head that Grax gave us. If I was stuck alone in this demonic hell pit, you bet I would tap that. Keeping up with my trend of busting a fat one over every unique transition in this level, I gotta bring attention to this butthole of death that essentially acts as one of those weird bug sucker things that you sometimes see on those whack-ass infomercials.
Hi, Billy Mays here with another fantastic product.
Good stuff, Knots. Keep it up.
Look, I really want to like the lab, but it really deviates from the rest of the level by losing the intricate backgrounds we've been presented with. There are a few sections that do this really well, through massive holes in the wall, but that doesn't change that most of the fact that the background is gray. A few gears and other items change this up, but any decoration on the wall is also gray. Bitch ass looking like Batman up on this shit.
Quick intervention here, I know this isn't my part, but I noticed this while I was editing this video. Jacobs, what the fuck, my guy? Come on.
I do gotta give huge props though to the decoration of the interior of the lab. The monitor screens flashing with the lyrics of the song are a really nice touch. Big fan of the sexy hunk display of the Slayer's face tributed on one of the screens.
When I was talking about the gameplay earlier, I mentioned that Space Dust did a great job at pulling the theme off for this part, which is a dark chamber. Just like everyone else in this level, Space Dust did a great job at adding tons of small details, which would be great if you could actually see them without shining a fucking flashlight at your monitor. It's much better in the second half when some actual lighting is introduced, but man, the first bit is darker than crippled midget porn. Speaking of the second half, I can't be the only one that adores this atmosphere. It looks like it came straight out of Heisenberg's factory from the recent hit game, Resident Evil, Stomp My Scrotum into a fine paste please, big booba lady. I don't know what else to say other than this functions as a great build-up into our fight with the big man himself.
Opening with his own
Title card.
Boom Bar, the king of the underworld, comes in nuts to butts, hell-bent on putting your ass through a fucking slap chop. Just like a leafy joke, Big Bertha's attacks aim right for the face and really pack a punch. Can't help but think he's related to that keyboard cunt with the power of his desk slams. Then that find the pieces motherfucker hits you with his 2 multi-hit attacks and enters into one of the smoothest logo shots I've ever seen. This whole fight is really well choreographed and I can't praise it enough. Even the background keeps with the fast-paced action, then attempting a 360 stream with the power rivaling that of the 20-foot pisser. Boombar decides that it's time for a new tactic, going full head-ass no body.
So up until this point, I've been calling Boss Man here Big Bertha, because I think it's a much more fitting name for a demon of this hulking stature. But Apyr has kindly reminded us that the name of this man is in fact Boombar. At this time, Boombar has decided to go all head no ass. Despite losing any thickness he had moments prior, I would still say his face is cute enough to be fucked out of the sky and used as a spare fleshlight. Oh, I was the only one thinking that? Shit, I don't know what to say, folks. So yeah, Han went full glow right at the end of the level, but because Han is Korean Jesus, it actually works fine. I will say this part kinda has the opposite problem of Space Dust part. That shit was too dark and this shit be too bright. At times it's very difficult to see the amazing custom background because Boomba or whatever the fuck his name is being rather rude and firing off Chernobyl beams at you every few seconds. Give that man a Snickers bar for fuck's sake. Still an absolute masterpiece of a part, as usual.
Let's be real. Have you ever seen a fucking AMV in a G-Dash level? There really is nothing to critique here. All you can do is strap in and watch the Boomslayer annihilate the boss. As the two foes meet, you can see the determination on the Slayer's face, and the look of desperation on his foe, as Boombar realizes he picked a fight with the wrong cube. The ending slash seals the King's fate, and the Slayer is victorious, all to that Boom Kitty bass. The end screen here just takes the level home with the Doom font. Both Yakob and I agree that this level smacks harder than the Icon of Sin's cheeks.
So while no level is absolutely perfect, Josh and I both agree that overall, Boomslayer is a fat 10 out of 10. I'm not really sure if there's anyone disagreeing with this statement either, since as I said earlier, this is a visual masterpiece. This team nailed that Cacodemon baseball straight out of the park. This brings the final score of Boomslayer to an 8 out of 10. The gameplay was definitely a letdown compared to the god tier decoration, but not enough to purge the level score too badly. If the homie Josh and I brighten your day for a solid 15 minutes by giving you a level review filled with more sexual tension than a Meat Canyon video, please drop a like and subscribe if you haven't already, since as you can see, I'm about 2 strokes away from that 10,000 sub orgasm. See you guys next time. Peace.